The next one will be given by Ilya from Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. I'm not sure which one is better, but yeah, good luck.
Thank you very much for a nice introduction. So, shall we, right? All right. So, first of all, it's very nice to be here. Kudos to the organizers of the event. It's really great that there is such an event in Prague. So, guys, that's great. So let me first introduce myself. So my name is Ilya Osichev. I have been in the media industry for quite some time, since 2005, and have a CTO level experience in different areas: live production, post-production, broadcasting infrastructure, media, large-scale media infrastructure, and of course streaming. So I was responsible for over 100 end-to-end live events, ranging from sports to culture, for different purposes: local, nationwide, international. So I think I know something that I'm ready to share with you. I would love that someone shared it with me. So in recent years, I'm focusing on streaming technologies. At RFE, I'm leading Pangea streaming platform. So the platform we develop in-house, and this platform is being used for different large media organizations such as Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, Office of Cuba Broadcast. You may not ever heard of it. So currently we support over 100 news websites, including TV channels in 15 different languages across the globe. So, and today I would like to explore with you some of the challenges you might have working in this large media organization. So, and yeah, so I put some of the pictures to entertain you and show that media technology is at the same time is quite niche technology. And at the same time, a very broad area. So a lot of people working within one media organization may not even know what your colleagues are doing in the next department. Like in every IT company, but compared to IT, it's a much more smaller industry. So, and it actually doesn't matter if it's like a large-scale event, or it's a small event, or it's a 24/7 channel. Nobody really wants downtime. I believe this is very obvious for everyone in this room. So, and I'm not going to focus on this one. So, and let's explore some of the challenges that arise in the complex media environment you have with a centralized distribution like we have as many other organizations. So, let's start with the best effort. So, in most cases, with your laptop or with a camera. Here is an example of the camera with Wi-Fi, built-in Wi-Fi. So you can stream to YouTube or even to CDN. We have some random ISP in most cases that will work. So, and this is called best effort. So you expect everything works. So, and things become a little bit more complicated when you have you must guarantee a certain level of resilience for high quality, high budget, multicam live video production, where many people work on the project. People from Czech television probably know about this. Yeah, it can be like tens of people, 50 people, hundreds of people. So, you need to provide resilience and often to many endpoints. So the most extreme, of course, redundancies you may see in some sports events, Formula 1 race, NFL, not just because there are high stakes, but also because nobody else can afford them. So, and just a disclaimer, there is no one solution, there is no one architecture that fits every solution. So almost every large media organization I know, it has its all unique workflows. It has a lot of legacy, especially if you're a company with 75 years of history and still have radio in your name. And of course, with the cloud today, we have so many nice and cool options how we can change our workflows. But I'm not going to talk today about the cloud-only solutions. I will focus on some real examples. So, so what is end-to-end? So sometimes we refer in media as a glass-to-glass, meaning like a glass of your lens to your TV. Usually we use glass-to-glass when we talk about low latency. But today I'm going to explore this glass-to-glass when we talk about all the chains, all the parts of the process. So here's a typical chain you have for your live video content. You have, of course, production, you have a contribution. Contribution means you deliver the highest possible quality between your internal departments or like locations. So encoding, packaging, end user distribution, CDN. So, and by no surprise, if you have a degradation of quality or like audio loss, anything at any of the steps, so user will always complain on your last step. And this is why it's really important. It doesn't make any sense where the issue is happening. So here's a nice diagram from one of the vendors focusing on monitoring. So this is how you usually think of the streaming. On the bottom there is example for IP, but let's look on the top of the diagram. So we have packaging, origin, caching, players, some last mile to the users. But on the left we usually see some encoders and some source. So today I'm going to dig deeper into the left part of the picture about the source, how you get to that point, and then we'll continue from them. So because if you have an unreliable source, so then it doesn't make sense to speak about everything else. So this is another diagram from even a bigger vendor. I like it a little bit more. It shows you what happened before. Again, I'm not going to explore all of the possible options how you can make live video. There are so many different ways. But here you can see that there is live production and there is something in between, the transcoding and packaging and CDN. So and there is quite a lot of things going on. This is not even a full picture. So as I said, it's really hard to find two media organizations with the same processes, same workflows. So I see a lot of understanding from the Czech TV. So yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the live sources, just a simplification, what you may have in that case. So when you deal with many different live sources from all over the world, from different places, usually you have some kind of MCR or equivalent. So MCR stands for Master Control Room. Sometimes you can call it Network Control Center or TOC, like Technical Operation Control. So it doesn't really matter how you call it. So in our case, it's a place where you it's kind of a demarcation point between streaming and production. So it's a place where actually you got your sources, you got them monitored, and you always have a reliable connection between the MCR and streaming in that example. So in terms of resilience, you in IP world, that will be something like SMT 2022-7, so where you have a redundancy, or in baseband world, as was mentioned, like SDA standards, yeah, so it can be several fiber optics, can be several physical coaxial cables. So so you have always a rock solid setup, and the advantage of this setup that you don't need to deal every time set up your encoder, so you just receive the feed and then it's becoming a matter of configuration. So and this is really a good way to do it. So we have in-house production that is very obvious. It works the same way. So you connect your studios with the same redundancy. So it's your internal infrastructure. It's fully under your control. But things become a little bit more interesting and complicated when it comes to external sources from outside production or some remote studios, affiliates. So let's explore it a little bit when it comes to outside production, because this is how the most major events happening. So in live video production first, we have two major approaches today. I should say that with the evolution of technology, when we shift in our consumption to online media, so live video production still remains highly complex. So you need a lot of talented and people and highly skilled people to have this work done on a high level. So the first approach we have is production at venue. When you have a truck, so this is a truck I was working in 2022. We built it in Germany. That was a nice, fun experience during the COVID time. So this truck can carry up to 20 plus 4K cameras. So you put them on the venue, and whole team works on the venue, and then you need to deliver your programs to your MCR. So, and this is approach that's used for tier 1 level events. Second approach we have currently is remote production. When you have a minimum equipment on the venue, it will be like camera and like on the picture some transmission boxes, and you deliver all the feeds to your facility, media facility, where you have people in the studio switching the cameras. So both approaches have their advantages and disadvantages, but as I said, when it comes to tier 1 level events, so you still need to have OB-WAN, this car called OB-WAN, which stands for Outside Broadcast WAN. So yeah, so this is a very weird name. Yeah, okay. So let's take a closer look at the OB-WAN. So when you plan your strategy for mission critical live production and streaming, of course, it's very important to make sure that you avoid any single point of failure. So, and that you need to make sure that all your cameras, all your live sources, graphics, playouts, replays, everything, they are not connected to a single point of failure. So, the production team have all the capabilities to provide you, to feed your distribution, contribution devices with the live source all the time at any circumstances. So, and you actually can be really, really surprised how complex audio could be at live video production. So, my point here is that, no offense guys, but not every live video production setup with fancy cameras and nice looking video switcher are actually capable of providing a reliable mission critical live source. So you must specify this requirement for such a production. So you are not sure, you're 100% sure that your devices are not compromised by a single point of failure. That happened to me like several times when you see a nice setup, and by the end of the day, it's all end up on some SDI splitter. So let's dive a little bit deeper on the, a well-designed OB-WAN. I should not use that word here. So a well-designed outside broadcast mobile unit can create an extremely reliable live source. So the one what we worked with a German company called Broadcast Solution. It can create a extremely reliable live source with a significant amount of redundancy. I would say unless it's literally on fire, it can be operational. So it can hold like lots of half of the power, mixer, video switcher failure, and still remain operational. So that's why it's very crucial to choose the right production setup. So as I said, in some cases you may be offered for your expensive contribution devices to take the program output from just a video switcher or some distribution device. In mission critical, we won't do that. So your program A, program B, or sometimes program C will come from a different piece of hardware, which is protected with 100% real-time redundancy. So I will give you an example how it works with Video Director. So let's take a look at the console. So your cameras are not all connected to the video switcher directly. They're going through a video router. Video router is by default high available designed device. So in case of video mixer failure, Video Director has a small tiny panel on the bottom of the table, and he can continue broadcast even if there is a total outage on the video switcher. So, and while he continues his broadcast, so broadcast engineering team can work on the recovery. So that happened. That happens. It doesn't mean it happened all the time. Yeah, it's just a possibility. Yeah, depending on the age of the truck, of the equipment, of the devices, everything. So that's why it's not only about the right device, but also about the ergonomics in live production. So as I said earlier, you don't stream from live video. You don't stream from this track, even if it looks that nice. That was built in parallel. At the same factory. This is the largest Germany. I'm not sure that it is largest. Germany is one of the largest. It can carry up to 30 cameras. So you may not even have access to such a device. So if it's not your production. So you first need to deliver your source to the MCR because one of the strategy you may have could be an editorial control. You got your source, then it goes to studio, then back to MCR, and then back to streaming. So let's go to the contribution. Yeah, so contribution, how we get the sources from the outside production studios to the MCR. So there are companies that provide you it as a service. I won't name them. There are some of them, big ones. So, but the point here is that you'll never rely on one technology. So I'm not talking about using several devices. I'm talking about different mediums. So it's always a different mix of technologies. So you avoid any medium that you don't have a full control over. So how does this work in practice? So this is another picture. I found this nice car next to the palace. So this summer. So let's dive deeper into the contribution. So the gold standard here, of course, is going send it over a managed network, managed fiber network. So with these networks, this means you have, first of all, you have SLA, and you have a highest possible quality, lowest latency. So when we're talking about the quality, you can use some devices with SPEC 2000, SPEC XS encoding. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this, but there exists. It's iframe codecs with extremely low latency. They can give you a compression within a frames. So, and they can give you bandwidth of around 300 megabits that will be a lossless quality. If you're lucky enough, you can have an uncompressed over a dark fiber, but you need to meet some requirements for distance, for equipment, your ladders. So this is the best way how you can deliver your feed. And if you're talking about the latency, this can be like really, really low. So that's why it's the first place usually used. But sometimes you are not lucky one, and you don't have this option. So in some locations, the only option you can have would be the satellite, which is your second option. And the satellite, in some regions, easily can be the only option. You will go with 2 satellites. So satellite is a really nice technology. I really like it, but there are so many dependencies. It's very complicated. There is one dependency, probably you all know, weather. So, but despite weather, you can still achieve a very high availability here. You can build like 99, 98% availability over the year with such a technology. But of course, that's an expensive one. And when it comes to satellite, you always deal with 2 factors. It's bitrate and latency. Yeah, because you cannot send like a 300 megabits or 1.5 gigabit uncompressed SDI video for 1080 50i. So usually it's something around 10 to 15 megabits per second, 20 if you really have a budget. So then for HD 1080. So that's why it's becoming extremely expensive for 4K streaming. Despite that, it's a great way to deliver your feed. It's point to multi-point by default, and it's covered by SLAs except for the weather. So yeah, it's a good choice. So last but not least, in my rating today for mission critical contribution, usually as a backup, if you have any of these one, usually as a backup, you go over the public internet with something like SRT or some bonding technology like LiveView, TVU, and this kind of stuff. So people from High Vision who don't know, like inventors of the ASRT protocol, they told me a joke that ASRT actually stands for Satellite Replacement Technology, which I'm not sure, like really. Well, with satellite, you have SLAs, you have partners, you know your dependencies, yeah. So with ASRT, it's really great technology. Like, don't get me wrong. So we use it a lot. So but internet is always best of all, and it's by default. So period. So that's usually you can combine any two of them, and you're good. If you have budget, combine all of them. So usually fiber networks, they, on the first method, you usually go through two different passes. So in the first method, usually you have redundancy by default, but we always cover it with any of these others. So okay, let's move on. So once you received an MCR, that's, as I said, becoming your internal source. But basically, you don't need to do anything. And let's dive a little bit deeper again. So we keep in mind that these sources, these mediums, they may have different latency. So you need somehow to normalize. Yeah. So me personally, I prefer an approach when MCR decides it's on its own which source used as a master for all the downstream connections. So let's say you are good with the fiber, you have a highest quality, and then they feed all your devices, primary backups, with the same content from the same source. If something goes wrong, I don't know, you have some situation and fiber doesn't work anymore, so they switch to satellite. And in that case, it will be a clean switch. You won't even notice anything. Your users won't notice anything, no buffering, anything. So of course there can be some jump back in time on the delay we have. Yeah, but you will continue feeding your devices as like nothing happened. So this is why it's very important, and this is also give you another advantage. You have a frame accurate content on all your encoders. So, of course, there is a place for automation. You can use some changeover devices, so it can be automated, yes. But when it comes to some partial degradation, you may have red and green, black and white picture. That won't be total loss. And for changeover, it won't be always easy to identify the issue. So you want a human control here. So then, once we have handover with MCR and we got a feed on all of our encoders, we have all the streaming related platform routines. You're all familiar, I guess, with, yeah, you need to encode ABRs, and you need to package, deliver to CDN or multi-CDN if you have budget. So then this is one of the approaches. So you can decide how you go there. So then you can decide to, okay, I need one endpoint. I need one HLS endpoint. I need one dash endpoint to feed my front-end clients, my player, basically. So in this approach, we can go with some high available service in the cloud. So you send all this feed. This is why it's very important to have them frame accurate, perfectly synchronized. And this media package service, in that case it's Amazon, it will decide which one is currently active, and you have a single super extremely reliable URL. So in AWS there are playbooks, so you can do a lot of many things. This is probably the simplest one, the easiest one. You can build extremely complex solutions. That's not all. So as in the next example, I'll give you with a global CDN like Akamai, you can build another solution where it's a little bit simpler, and in that case you won't need a perfectly synchronized sources. You may not follow my advice, and you may end up having different sources on your primary and backup encoders. All of these devices can be geographically distributed. It could be different locations, different data centers. So, and that can be tricky to make them synchronized. So in that case, you can follow this approach. You go through pass A and pass B. So you ingest from your ABR encoder from one source to a region, then it goes to CDN, and it's become, in that case, as an example, just HLS A, could be dash. So this dash works the same. And PASB go to the backup region, can be yours, a region of your choice, it could be an Akamai region. And then you end up having two different URLs. So there is one approach, the easy way and the hard way. The easy way, you go with a solution Akamai called HLS merge playlist. Basically, this is an HLS with variants. So you provide multiple variants. Or you feed some backend API, or not backend, or API. So you have to decide yourself which one when you want to use, based on some metrics. So with merge playlist, there is just a disadvantage. It's a nice way to go, but it will work only if you consider failover only on 400 errors. So let's say your stream A is not available and the CDN returns 400 error, then it will fail over to B. And it can be tricky for a front-end player. I know that this setup doesn't work well for all of us. We managed to make it work. So it's up to you how you want to build this other ways. I just want to mention that it's really nice not to have it hard-coded. So because you want to have an option to intervene at any time. Because as I said, in most cases, you won't have a total loss, total damage. Like you may have a partial degradation. You may have like some audio issues on one encoder. So we had a case when there was okay, probably I should not name the event. So we had an issue with metadata on one of the encoders, and it decided to switch to another color space. So, and one of the encoders was feeding CDN with oversaturated image. So in that case, of course, you can restart, but that will create some outage. Better way, like you just fail over to or completely eliminate the source and continue streaming from the backup. So you can do it like almost instantly. So yeah, a few words about the CDN connectivity, I should have said. So there are ways how you can build your reliable connection bypassing public internet. Probably you know them. Major cloud providers and CDNs, they allow you for a dedicated connectivity. That can be AWS Direct, can be Akamai Direct. So because you want to bypass public internet as much as possible. So here is an example with another approach, which is would be to connect to the network exchange point. So you can, if you're on-prem, this can be your advantage. You can extend your network to the network exchange point, and as you see, your CDN can become your next hop from your local network. So here this is a playback public ingest URL, but still it works the same for the ingest to CDN. I will go to the another mission critical endpoint. That will be social media distribution. Often we do this with in parallel with streaming to CDN, and sometimes it's becoming even more important than the streaming on our platform. So you can use the same approach. This is why this network exchange connectivity is a better way to build that, because you can have connection to many endpoints just with one within the one network. So Google allows you to build a dedicated connectivity to Google Cloud that will cover YouTube, and I know that they are planning to introduce this to the cloud environments, like so they will allow you to build it from Amazon to Google, from probably Azure. It's not there yet, but with on-prem you can do that. So we had a case not that long time ago when two major Prague ISPs were unable to deliver a live stream to YouTube endpoints. So to their defense, we were able to connect. So, but the bandwidth was so low you wouldn't consider for audio streaming. So that's why it's important to have options. By default, when you stream to YouTube or like any other social media, the main approach to have option. This one, I believe, is the greatest option you may have. I wouldn't mention how many times we got 500 API errors. So yeah, don't go that way in mission critical with APIs. I think that's a wrap. So I hope this has been helpful in understanding what kind of challenges, aspects you may have end-to-end. It's very hard to put everything in this short presentation, but this is knowledge you can typically gain when you work in some media, on TV. And I think this is important to share this knowledge. You cannot learn it anywhere. And I believe this can be available for every streaming enthusiast. I'm ready for your tough questions.
So, Radku.
I don't have a question. Thank you.
Best question.
So I was always curious about OB-WANs, and I wonder how often do they actually break? Because there's all this redundancy, but in practice, do they get on fire often or not?
Yes, they do.
They do.
Again, this depends. I'll give you an example. Actually, in my previous organization, we've been using OB-WAN built in Czech Republic. Very nice one, very good one that was built in 2002 or 3, I guess. So it's still operational. It's a very good one. But of course, usually, as people, when we're getting older, we're not getting better. So it's very uncommon that it goes totally on fire. But you have it in the most inappropriate moment, like president speaking. Or like you're in the middle of a football game. So I had a case when actually we had an issue. This was a major football game, and fiber network just cut, and that's it. So, and we were lucky to fail over immediately. And the reason was within the OB-WAN, because of some of the outputs. So when the track travels, it can not always go by good roads. Sometimes it can go through bad roads, and the devices can shake, and connections inside some systems can also. It's a very rare case. It may happen. So that's why you want this redundancy, because you never know. You need not only redundancy. You need ergonomics. You fix it. Yeah. It not necessarily can be in a truck. You can put it in the racks. It's also a very common approach. So it depends. But yes, that happens. Yeah.
Like regarding the latency, you mentioned the connectivity via DEC cables and that, like everything super fast. So I assume that from the OB-WAN you are still like under 1 second.
It's just fiber.
If it's
yes, if it's fiber. If it's fiber and it's that not far away, we're talking about frames. So it depends. Yeah. So there is light of speed, so you can measure it, but it's very low latency. If you compress it in something like JPEG XS, so then you will have kind of some latency, but we're talking about like really small latency. I'm not ready to give you maybe an exact number. That really depends on the device and the manufacturer and the brand. So, but this seconds. Yeah. So it's not a huge number.
It's still cool.
It is. Yeah.
So how much latency does a typical satellite link add? Is it like 10 seconds, 15
Satellite.
seconds? Satellite. Satellite feed from the OB-WAN to the control room. If the weather allows, yes.
in sunny days. Even in cloudy days, it doesn't matter. So when it's cloudy days, you need a lot of energy to hit the clouds. The gold standard would be a couple of seconds. So you may remember the time when we didn't have a good cellular networks, and journalists from the field were talking to the studio with some kind of delay. Yeah, that will give you an idea. So 2-3 seconds, could be a second. It really depends on the satellite location, and it's not that big. It's not 10 seconds.
What's your experience with 5G networks for contribution?
As a backup, perfect. Perfect. Again, in most cases, it depends on your content, right? So you may consider use it as a primary, but from my experience with crowdy events, this is a limitation of probably a cellular technology itself, like GSM technology. When you have a lot of people in one place, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, so then the network is so unresponsible for your bandwidth. So you can't prioritize the traffic. So if you have a lot of people in one place, you may end up in the bandwidth like 500 kilobits per second or even lower. Or you can lose the GSM network at all. So we had a case that was a large concert when it went completely down. So it depends on the provider, how good they are, how well they are prepared for such an event. Currently, in lots of sports stadiums, you have built-in repeaters and so on. So, but yeah, from my experience, I wouldn't rely it in the first place, especially when it's a crowdy event. But latency is not big as well.
Just to add to this, we don't have any true 5G networks in the Czech Republic in the area yet. So everything's LTE plus some 5G bands at capacity. So you might get an extra capacity today, but you don't get the true benefits of 5G, which is you can get much more users on the same site or antenna, let's say, than you've got with 4G. So like with 4G, you get like 10,000 is a limit or so. With 5G, you can get 2 orders of magnitude higher. So in theory, 5G should help with the bandwidth and saturation problems by like the amount of people being on the same place at one place. Thank you.
Yeah, that's true. But you always keep in mind that this is the best effort. So this is just by default. Yeah. So if you're okay with this one for some event, that may work. Yeah.
Okay. Unless Radek has any other question. We've got like 6 minutes for next talk, so like have 6 minutes break and then we will continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.